My name is Mr. Wilcox at Genesee High School. This is Advanced Algebra 2, and this is Matrix Multiplication Section 4-3. Class, I want to give you two matrices. We'll call them capital M and capital N. We'll start out with the easy part of today's lesson. We'll move on to the part that is a little bit more challenging for you. Give me 2 by 2 matrix for M. 2, -3, 0, and 6. And N is going to be -5, -8, 2, and 9. The first thing that we will talk about with these matrices is something called a scalar. And a scalar just means to scale a specific matrix. Really what we have here is a constant, okay? First of all, we'll do something very simple. 3m. Now what does 3m mean? Okay, if I have two things next to each other in mathematics, 3 and m are doing what? Being multiplied, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 3 and multiply it by m, sometimes written like this. You don't have to rewrite it like this, but if you see it like this, this is what it means. It means just take everything inside the matrix M and multiply it by 3. So 3m is going to be 6, -9, 0, and 18. How easy is this?
Pretty easy.
Very easy. We can have something a little bit more difficult like -2m plus 5n. -2m plus 5n. Question. Are m and n allowed to be added together?
Yes.
Why?
Because they're both 2 by 2s.
Because the dimensions are the same. They're both 2 by 2s. So let's calculate both of these first, and then we'll add these things together very quickly. -2 times m, it would be -4, +6, 0, and -12. Of course. 96? Hey. Sure, she'll be right down. Bye. Boys, after the lesson, you can step down there for a minute, okay?
Man.
5n. We're recording. Can you guys come back? Sure. Give me 15 minutes, okay?
Yep.
5n is going to be here. -25, -40, 10, and 45. Now, we have our scalars, right? A -2 and a 5. These can be added together. Remember corresponding elements. So my final answer would be, looks like -29, looks like -34, looks like 10, and how about 33? Fair enough? Okay. Nothing too bad here. Multiply all your matrices together and they can be added or subtracted together if the dimensions are the same. Next part here. Not scary here either. Solve for capital Y. Solve for capital Y. We have an equation, or what was called a matrix equation. -3 times capital Y plus 2 times the matrix 6, 9, -12, 15 is equal to the matrix 27, -18, 30, and 6. And this really isn't too scary either. You know why? Because it's simple algebra, but now we're using a matrix. Nothing too bad here. Who can tell me the first thing that we should do?
Times the 2 to the matrix.
Mr. Terrell, that's a great idea. Let's first simplify this thing right here, all multiplied by 2. So this is -3y plus, and now you can see this is going to be 12, 18, -24, 30, and that's equal to 27, -18, 30, and 6. Now, simple algebra still. Next step might be what? How about we subtract this matrix away from both sides? Okay, so that's -12, 18, -24, 30. And guess what? That's canceled. And I'm going to subtract it here. 12, 18, -24, 30. Okay, and this is canceled. This is all eliminated. What I have now is -3 times y is equal to... Now we can just subtract these things. let's see, 27 minus 12 is 15. Negative 18 minus 18. Don't put 0, put negative 36, please. Let's see, 30 minus a negative 24 would be 30 plus 24, which is 54. And 6 minus 30 is negative 24. Now, how do I eliminate a negative 3 scalar? Let's divide. I'm going to divide all this by negative 3 is canceled. I really need to put a divide by negative 3 here. And finally, this is not too scary either. Divide everything by negative 3 should be negative 5, positive 12, looks like negative 18, and 8. That's my final answer. Fair enough? Now, let's turn up the heat a little bit. What I want to do here is simply multiply. Now you remember, okay? You remember, adding matrices together. What's wrong? Everything okay?
No time.
There's no time on there? Okay. Let's just watch the clock. We started at what? It's like 2:06. By the time you get to 2:22, we need to hit a pause.
All right, good enough.
Adding or subtracting matrices is corresponding elements, right? The upper left and upper left added, upper right and upper right added, whatever. Matrix multiplication is very different. Let me give you a 2 by 2 to start. 2, 0, 3, and 4. I'm going to multiply this by 1, 6, 2, and 5. Okay? There's 2 ways I want to explain this. One for the people that are good at memorizing, and one for the people that need a visualization in order to do this. Okay? And you may or may not know what type of person that you are. My answer is going to be a 2 by 2. We'll look at that in a second, but I'm telling you this is a 2 by 2. And what you are going to do, here's the key to this lesson. It is row times column. What you are going to do is take the rows and multiply them by the columns. It takes a little bit of mental math here. Here's what I'm going to have you do. Take the first row, which is 2, 0, and physically imagine taking it out of the paper. And you are going to turn it so it is straight up and down, and you're going to place it on top of the first column. I'm doing first row times first column, okay? And this 2, 0 comes out, and it goes on top of this column. The 2 goes on top of the 1, and you multiply those together to get 2. The 0 goes on top of the 2, and you multiply those together to get 0. So this is 2 and 0, and then you add those numbers up. So this is 2 plus 0, which would be 2 in my first spot. Wow. Let's try it again, because we have 3 more to find. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second column. First row, second column gets me first row, second column answer. Now, take the 2, 0, place it on top of the column. The 2 goes on top of the 6 to make 12. The 0 goes on top of the 5 to make 0. And you have 12 plus 0, which is 12 in that spot. So I have my first row done. Okay? We have to practice this because it's time consuming if you don't know what's going on. Let's move on to the second row. All right? The second row is 3, 4. You will imagine taking this out, turning it, and putting it on top of the column. The 3 goes on top of the 1, multiply is 3. The 4 goes on top of the 2, multiply is 8. And 3 plus 8 would be 11, goes in the next spot. Okay? It's tricky. 3, 4 comes out, goes on top of the first column. You would have 18. Look where I'm pointing. 18 plus 20. 18 and 20. A 38 goes right there. Okay? That is how we matrix multiply. Let's try it again. All right, let's try it again. Mr. Jacobs, let's move over here. Okay, we all have this down. All right, let's do a couple more 2 by 2s. Let's throw in some negatives. Negative 2, negative 3, 4, 2 times 0, 5, 3, 2. Okay? I will tell you ahead of time this is going to be a 2 by 2. It won't always. Okay? And by the way, the dimensions don't have to be the same.
Yeah.
Let's check this out here. Row times column. The negative 2 goes on top of the 0, and that zeros are nice to have here, by the way, aren't they? Because they give you a lot of zeros. So negative 2, 0 would be 0. Negative 3 goes on top of the 3 and becomes negative 9. And I add 0 to that, and I still have negative 9, right? Can somebody raise their hand and tell me what goes next? Think about it. I want to have row times second column. Mr. Mahalik, you think you know what number it is?
Would it be negative 2 over the 5?
Yes, which would give you?
Negative 10.
And?
And then negative 3 over the 2?
Which is?
Negative 6.
Add them up.
Negative 16.
Negative 16 is the right answer. Okay, that's what we're doing. Very good. Okay? Here's the visual. What you can do, if you have trouble with this, is make a little triangle. Okay? And what I can do, I'm going to do the second row this way for those of you that like this method. You can take the triangle and you think, okay, I got a number that's on the big end and a number that's on the small end, and the triangle just fits on top of the other one, and whatever lines up, you multiply together. Okay? So the 4 is on the big part, which goes on top of the 0, and that's 0. Right? The 2 goes on top of the 3. Wouldn't that be 6? Okay? Somebody tell me what the very last number is. Think about it. Raise your hand and tell me. Kilogauss, what is it?
24.
24 is be 4 and 5 is 20. 2 and 2 is 4. Okay?
That's
24.
24. 24. 4 and 5 is 20. 2 and 2 is 4. You add them up, it's 24. Now the next one, the next problem, let's write this down. 6, 4, 2 in the top row, and 1, 3, 5. Multiplied by negative 1, 0, 4, 7. What do you notice?
Different dimensions.
What?